Hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Nobby. Thank you for tuning in to my top 10 beginner tips for Path of Exile. These will be in order of encounter, so they're not in order of importance. There should be in order of when you encounter them in the game. If you find this video helpful, I would love you to drop a thumbs up on it. It does help other people find the videos. And if you are new around here, please consider subscribing. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, tip number 1, play the current league. All right, Path of Exile has leagues usually around every 3 months. It's currently January 24. We are currently in the Affliction League 3.23, and this league should run now until the beginning of March, around about the 1st or the 8th of March, I reckon. We always get a new league on a Friday. So when you first create your character, you are presented with this screen. What we have is we have the Challenge League. This is what we refer to as the current league. All right, we've got the Affliction. Ignore the hardcore, unless you've got a death wish on your first character. You want to play the normal Affliction League. Ignore Solo Self-Hound, ignore Ruthless. At the end of the league, for this example, early March, all your characters in the current league will get moved to Standard, as well as all currency and items you've got in their stash. Standard is generally referred to as sort of the graveyard of your characters. Everybody plays the current league. It's where the new mechanics are. It's where they've revamped the core mechanics of the game as well. And if you're looking at build guides, I'll touch on that soon, you will be looking at build guides for the current league. So when you're starting a new character and you get to select the league first, always go for the current challenge league that's available. Tip number 2, follow a build guide or walkthrough. There are lots of build guides out there. The week before the league goes live, after we've had the league announcement, a lot of your content creators start crunching the numbers and coming up with guides. Honourable mentions will be Zizarin, Ziggy D, Gazzy TV, R3. There are plenty more out there. Alternatively, they are the PoE forums, and there's also PoE Vault run by Icy Veins. You can find builds on here as well, and they're quite nicely marked on here, whether it's a league starter, low budget, all-rounder, whether it's an endgame mapper. Lots of options for build guides. If you watch a video of a build and see whether it's to your liking, as a brand new player, absolutely follow a build guide for your first playthrough. It'll be made by somebody with a lot of experience in the game, that it will be tried and tested, and it shouldn't hit a brick wall, as you may find if you were to create your own build. By all means, have a play and try and create your own build if you fancy, but as a new player, highly recommend that you follow a build guide. On that note, for PC players, 99% of them will require you to install this little program, the Path of Building Community Fork it's called. There is a link in the video description below. If you want to go and get that and install that onto your PC, you will be good to follow a build guide that way. If you're on console, just find a mobile or tablet friendly PoE Planner, I think it's called, that some build guides will use, and you can follow along that way. If you do want to follow a new player-friendly walkthrough of the game, a bit of self-promotion, I have got 2 live currently. I have got the Toxic Ranger playthrough from the last league, the Ancestor League. That got to early maps, so you are welcome to follow along with that. I am currently doing a Zizarin build of the Bone Shatter Slayer. As of recording this video, I am about halfway through Act 10, so we're just about to get into maps on that one. But those videos are absolutely beginner friendly. I go through Acts 1 and 2 really slowly, explaining everything as we go. And then as the game naturally forces us to speed up a little bit, the video guide sort of speeds up as well. So if you want to watch them, come along, subscribe to the channel, and you'll find 2 nice chunky playlists of Path of Exile playthroughs. Tip number 3, the UI and map settings. Alright, a little bit self-explanatory this one, but I'll just go through some settings that I like to have. First of all, the map. Let's press the tab, let's get the map open. There we go. Alright, so map settings. We have landscape transparency. Let me just zoom it in a little bit first. There we go. Alright, so landscape transparency puts all the nice hand-drawn features on the map. I do find that it's less busy without that. Does help. Map transparency I always have on full. You can see where you're going. Map zoom, personal preference, I have it zoomed all the way out. Now you'll see a lot of people running with the map on in the center. I tend to run just on the mini-map. Again, personal preference, but that is one setting you may want to change around is the map. Other settings that I have on the UI, I will have always show sockets. So when I am looking at my gear, the sockets are always visible. You can see what links and socket numbers you've got. Also on what items are on the floor as well. I always like full descriptions as well. Just gives you a little bit more on the tooltip. Helps you decide whether you're picking something up or not. And a few more options that I like to have. I do like to have the life and mana levels in a number above the bubble. I like to have my life bars on enemies, on allies. That includes your totems and things. I also like it above me. So when I'm in a zone, I've got a nice little health and mana bar above my head. Just a few little things that you may want to consider in your UI settings. Also, you can change the mouse cursor and the cursor size if, like me, sometimes you lose the cursor. Just personal preference, but just a few little UI options that may make the game easier for you. On here as well, a little bit of a colour blindness help because they are red, green, blue, which I know can be a struggle for some people. You do have the option to put notches or a large pattern on your sockets as well. I run with default, but that may be handy for some of you as well. Tip number 4, install a loot filter. This is more for PC only players. If you are on the console, after your game, new league goes live, your loot filter is Neversinks by default. That is built into the console versions. For PC, you will need to install a loot filter. The game does come with a default one, but it's trash. All right. The go-to loot filter is Neversinks. It's the one that the devs put into the console version. I have a video. There is a link in the description below to said video on installing the loot filter. When you have the loot filter installed, you can filter out its strictness. You can also customize it if you wish. And just for an example, this was a level 46 character. At the end of a labyrinth run, the left-hand side you can see is without the loot filter. The right-hand side is with a regular setting loot filter, so still not too strict. But you can see the difference it makes. It just makes it a hell of a lot easier to filter through and just pick up items that you may want. Tip number 5, left click to move and the second hotbar. So I have just created a brand new character. I am back down on the beach, level 1. First thing you want to do as a PC player, console you can reassign buttons, but if you're brand new to the game, highly recommend you click here, your main action button, the left button, change that to move only, and then put your main action. I usually have that on my right button, you may want it on Q. That just helps brand new player get around the world. If you have your main action set to the left button, you can move and attack. But if you're surrounded by mobs, it will try and attack. You may find you get stuck in place. So that is one recommendation. When you load into the game, make sure you put move only on your left mouse button. In addition to that, there is also a second hotbar. It's hidden. By default, it's the control button. And then you've got your control QWERT. Now, what I do is you're following a build guide, you will get auras and heralds and a few passive skills that you just sort of set and forget. You put them on, activate them, and unless you die or move your gems around, you can forget about them. What I tend to do is I will put them on this second hotbar with the control button, leaving the main hotbar for my active skills. Again, personal preference, but that's a good way to set up your hotbars. Tip number 6. The passive skill tree is overwhelming. And it is, guys. It is probably where most people will install this game, give it a go, hit level 2. Then they're prompted to press the P button to bring up the passive skill tree. They get one look at this and instantly quit the game. Your active skills all come from gems and the way they are socketed. This is a passive skill tree. You do get passive points, one every level. There are also passive points available as quest rewards. So hence why you follow a build guide. Build guides are tried and tested. There are thousands of build combinations you can come up with via this passive tree. It does make the game really good for replayability. It is probably one of the most complex ARPGs you'll find, if not the most. But if you follow a build guide, that will guide you through the passive skill tree. You've got your travel nodes here, which are basic percentage increases. We have some keystones, notables, sorry, which give you a lot more of a boost. And then we also have some keystones which really do affect the build as well. On that note, you also can get passive respec points throughout quest rewards. And you can also get a currency called Orbs of Regret, and they will give you some refund points. It is worth noting you can refund these skill points, but you can only work backwards from the end of your chain. So if you do make a mistake, it could be quite costly if you've made a big mistake to have to backtrack all the way to correct that mistake. So yes, the passive tree is overwhelming. When you first open it at level 2, you will have a heart attack. I appreciate that. Again, a bit of self-promotion. If you want to follow along with one of my playthroughs, whether it's the Toxic Rain or the Bone Shatter Slayer, we do go through nice and slow. You'll see how the pathing works, and we explain a lot of this throughout. Enjoy the skill tree. Tip number 7, use the help section. There is a really good help section in this game that tends to be overlooked. Every time you encounter a new league mechanic, a new NPC, the first time you encounter support gems, you will be prompted to open up the help panel. This little information button here, semicolon on the PC. This is full of really good explanations of how skills work, how skills are linked up. There are videos in here to show how they work with and without. There are lots and lots and lots of sections in here. Highly recommend as a new player you spend 20 minutes reading through this. Ideally, when you unlock a section, just have a read of what it does. You get a prompt at the bottom of your screen to say a new help page has been unlocked. Just have a quick look, have a read through. It will massively help you on your first playthrough. Tip number 8, one of my personal favourites. Play this game like a single player RPG. When you first come into the game, you have no idea what you're doing. I would highly recommend you clear the zone completely, pick up as much loot as you can carry. You'll be thankful of the currency later on, trust me. But play it like a single player RPG. Enjoy your time in it. This game has got a really good backstory as well. It's worth listening to. All the quest givers, all the NPCs, all the lore items that are out in the world. Absolutely your first time through, you should take your time and play this like a single player RPG. Uncover all the zones, have a good explore, and just enjoy your time. Tip number 9. Aim for at least 300 life per act. This is a rough number, but I find it really helpful for new players. Alright, I am currently halfway through Act 10 on my Bone Shatter Slayer playthrough. I have got just over 2,900 life. Ideally, by the end of this act, I do want to be over 3,000. So, as a rough number, at least 300 life per act is what you should be aiming for. Now, when you're following a build guide as a new player, you will have options at some points to branch off to take extra nodes, for example here. When you do get these options, I would always prioritize the increased max life before you branch off for anything else. It will help you in the long run. Tip number 10, and the final tip, although there'll be some bonuses, hint hint, resistances in this game are important. As you go through the later acts, you will come across mobs that will do specific damage, and if you don't take care of your resistances, they will hurt. Alright, so the main ones, we've got fire resistance, cold resistance, and lightning resistance. Chaos resistance is a nice to have, but not necessary. But these top 3, fire, cold, lightning, the cap is 75%. You can overcap, and it's helpful to do that, because at the ends of Act 5, when you kill the Act 5 boss and the Act 10 boss, you do take a 30% hit on those. I'm coming up to the Act 10 boss, so you can see my chaos resist is minus 30. I've got nothing at the minute that gives me any chaos resist whatsoever. But all my others, fire I'm at 105, lightning 108, and chaos at fire 105, cold 108, and lightning at 136. So when I take that 30% buff again at the end of Act 10, I will still be capped at 75, 78, and 106. Always a good place to be. Resistances do make a massive difference to the amount of damage you take. Do not underestimate them at all. I will move on now to some bonus tips for you. If you have found this video helpful, I would love you to drop a thumbs up on it. It does massively help the algorithms on the old YouTube. If you are new around here, come and subscribe to the channel. And if you are considering trying this game, I have got 2 playthroughs for you to follow. A Toxic Rain Ranger, which is complete at the early maps, and we are currently running through a Bone Shatter Slayer. Take care. Alright, if you've got this far, well done. We are on to the bonus tips section. These are in no particular order, but they're just a couple of honourable mentions that I do want to put in the video. First one, managing your expectations. You may have been watching content creators, you may have been watching streamers. They are blasting through Acts 1 to 10 in 5 or 6 hours. If it's your first time playing, in all honesty, guys, expect it to be 20, 25, maybe even 30 hours before you get to the end of Act 10. It is an extended tutorial. The bosses at the end of each act are pretty much just a DPS check. But if you are playing this for the first time, do not expect to be in maps within 5 or 6 hours. Just a little bit of expectation management there for you. If you are struggling, do ask for help. Get yourself on the PoE Reddit, get yourself in the forums, find some new player-friendly streamers that are out there, or by all means come and drop into this channel and ask questions. I absolutely don't mind. If you want to drop a comment on one of my videos, I do batch record my videos, so I am usually a week ahead, but I will always reply to your comment in the comment section, and if it is a question that's relevant to other people as well, I'll always give that a shout out and a mention when I do my next batch of recordings. If you're not feeling the build, you've got to Act 3, Act 4, and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I like this build, feel free to find another build and try again. Your stash is shared, so any currency you've gathered on that first character, as long as you create your second character in the same league, currently Affliction, you're not gone solo, self-found or hardcore, you will still share the stash. You're not going to lose the currency that you've already collected. And if it's your second time through, of course, naturally, you're going to be a bit quicker through the Acts 1 and 2. So if you get into a build guide and you're just not feeling it, please don't hesitate to start again with a new character. On that score as well, if you find that you need currency, you're running out of currency, you've tried out crafting, which is definitely worth trying out, don't be afraid to use your currency. You'll get plenty of it. You'll be farming plenty of it. But if you did want to go and farm a specific zone, don't forget from the waypoint map here, for PC players at least, if we control and click on, say, the Ravaged Square, for example, I can reset this instance. I could go in and farm it, kill a load of mobs, pick up a load of loot, come back here. Instances are normally open for between 8 and 15 minutes, but you can also just reset and go again. That's a good tip, that one. If you are low level or you're short on life and you want some gear, just go and farm a new zone. Keep farming it. Also, don't be afraid to use the trade system. I do cover it briefly in my playthroughs. As a beginner playthrough, I do cover how to buy and sell items. Don't be afraid to spend that hard-earned currency on a 6-link axe. I have recently a 6-link chest. It'll give you a massive DPS boost if you can go from a 4 or 5 link up to a 6. So don't be afraid to buy items through the PoE trade. It is a little bit convoluted. It's not an in-game auction house, unfortunately. But the option is certainly there, especially if you're on this normal league. Don't go solo self-found, because that will not be an option for you. But don't be afraid to buy an item as well. Don't forget, these leagues are 3 months and sort of throw away. Yes, your character does go down to the standard core league, but nobody plays in that. That's the graveyard. So don't be afraid to use the currency that you've got. If you've dropped a Divine Orb, go and buy yourself a nice juicy axe or bow. I have recently, and it's literally just tripled my DPS, which does make it easier again, especially when we get towards the end now, as we are doing and into the end game of maps. I hope you found this video helpful, guys. If you have, I would love you to drop a thumbs up on it. It will help other people find it. I will be back with my regular daily videos on the Path of Exile beginner's playthrough. Currently, we're on Zizarin's Bone Shatter Slayer. I will be doing a new build in the next league, early March. And then you'll also get the occasional one-off video like this. If you're new around here, I would love you to come and subscribe to the channel. Come and say hello. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.